Hey guys, it's Tana, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to create with this month's Club Sursee kit. I only subscribe to the basic kit. We have one stamp set there that is full of nice sentiments, and the other one with some solid flowers and leaves and some few smaller sentiments. So I started off blending this ink panel with Shea Butter, Catherine Pooler ink. And I didn't like the way it was blending. I don't know if it was the Nina paper or if it was my blending brushes, but it wasn't blending correctly. So I added in some sauna, which is also a yellow, but it's a deeper, darker yellow. Now, I cut a lot out of this video. I was probably ink blending for a good 7-8 minutes. Finally, I just gave up. You can see that swipe there, and this is where I got the idea to do the card the way I did. So I didn't want to just mist it with water because I wasn't sure what I was going to do with the stamps. And I was like, well, why don't we try stamping with water? So that's exactly what we're going to do. I started out with the small stamp, like small, that looked like one of those things that come off of a dead dandelion when you make a wish. And I slowly increased to the bunch of leaves. I didn't use any super large flowers on this. I wanted it to be all small things because if I used a larger stamp and I put too much water on it, I'd end up with a huge blob. The other good thing about this technique was after your paper dries, it leaves a little bit of a raised edge. So I might play around with this some more and see what else you can do with it after you stamp with the water. But for this card, I just stamped and covered the whole background with some of the different stamps that came in the set. This is like a leaf branch here. I thought this one looked really cool on the cardstock. Hopefully I do a close-up soon here. See, there you can see. You can't see my puddle of water, but you can see it when I first squirt some water out. These are just 3 little dots. I like that one. I like it when those come in a stamp set because you can do it. Oh, I just messed with my volume on accident. You can do a whole bunch of different things there. Sorry about that. So then I took some of that. I don't know the name of that. It's Glimmer Mist by Tattered Angels, and it's just the clear one. And that's what I used to spray onto my panel, and then I heat set it. And then I'm matting it with some black cardstock, just some 110-pound Park Lane from Joann Fabrics. I really like that black cardstock. I think it's good for card bases and anything else I want to do with it. Now I'm taking sage. Yeah, that's sage. And I thought the black was going to be the matte for my card, but I forgot. I didn't like it. It looked like it needed something else. So I cut down this panel here, and it's just a piece of Nina 60-pound, and I covered it with the Sage Catherine Pooler ink. I dried it, and then I cut the center out of it because I don't like wasting the center when it's going to be underneath something. You can always use that on something else. So we just have that border right there, and I'm going to glue our background or tape our background right onto the border. But I'm going to put the score tape on the back of the background because you don't know quite where the border will sit. And then this way I'm sure to get the entire thing taped to the little border. Excuse me. So that's on there, and I'm pretty sure I popped this up on foam tape. Yes, I do. I'm sorry, guys. I'm distracted. I live like right next to the woods. My house is surrounded on 2 sides by woods. And every year when it gets warm and muggy, or right before it's supposed to rain during warm weather, we get an overflow of mosquitoes and little tiny bugs that just swarm to our door. And when you open it, there's no way around it. We always end up with a swarm of mosquitoes or whatnot, whatever happens to be there that night, all over our kitchen ceiling. And right now I'm being dive bombed as I do this voiceover by mosquitoes. It's driving me nuts and distracting me to no end. So then after I put that on the green frame, It's not really a frame, but we're going to call it a frame because we cut the center out of it. I matted it onto the black cardstock, which I think is actually the card base. Now that I think about it, that's the card base, and that's why I thought it needed something more. I'm a moron. I did this last night, you guys, so I didn't do the video, the voiceover until the next day. I wanted to get this out for you because I'm working with a new stamp set today. I also have another Catherine Pooler video coming out. That's the next one to edit. So I took a piece of vellum here, cut it out with a round scallop die, and threw it. Did you see that? I don't know what I was doing there. I stamped it out with the spruce, and then I embossed it with clear glitter embossing powder so you would see it a little bit better and it would sparkle a little just like the background. I had a really difficult time deciding what I wanted to do with these sentiments. They're not huge, but they're chunky enough that I didn't want to put them on a piece of cardstock and block part of the background. That's why I chose the vellum, and I just put a little bit of Nouveau Deluxe adhesive behind where the words are so that I can adhere that. Thank you, Corin. I'm now saying adhere all the time. Inside joke there, people. Now it's now adhered to the card. After it dried, I took my Gray Mist Nouveau Jewel Drops, and I just put those, and remember that little stamp with the 3 tiny dots? I just put Nouveau Jewel Drops in Gray Mist. Yep, that's what I used. And most, not all, most of the dot stamps. And watch this right here. It seemed clogged. Nothing was coming out, so I hit it with a pin here, guys, and splat. It really was clogged, more than I thought, and I ended up with a big glop entirely covering those 3 little dots. But it wiped up easily enough. Thank goodness I used a light color. Otherwise, that probably would have been a little bit harder to clean up. Probably would have been something that I had to hide. So there's the finished card right there. I did 3 cards with this month's Club Sursee kit. This is only the second kit I've received, and so far I love them. The only reason I don't have the deluxe kit is because it seems like so far it's mostly dies, and unless it's word dies, like big chunky ones that I can cut out, I don't need the dies because I have the Brother Scan and Cut. So moving on, I cut a piece of cardstock here 2 inches wide, and I'm just going to use a lot of the flowers and stamp them out in a design here on the 2-inch piece of cardstock. Right now it's the entire 5.5 inches long. I didn't trim anything off the length. That color, the first color there was Rose Petals, the second one is Rouge, and I'm pretty sure I do remember the colors without looking at those ink tops. And then Fiesta Blue and Something Borrowed, and usually it's the lighter color for the flower and the darker color for the inside of the flower. That's how I did it for this panel. There's some cute little flower shapes in here. They're definitely different. And I love the center of that pink flower because it can be used as a flower on its own also. And so can those dots. They can be used as a center of a flower. Like I said, they're very versatile when they come in a stamp set. And this is Orange Twist, and the center of this flower will be Tutti Frutti. I really, really would love to have the entire Catherine Pooler ink collection with re-inkers, because I can already tell some of my ink pads, the smaller ones, are getting dry already. And my Juniper Mist, because I use that for quite a few backgrounds. Oh, I used brown. I used icing on the cake for the center of that, and then I pulled out Tutti Frutti for another flower and used icing on the cake for the center of that one also. I think I decided that I wasn't sure the Tutti Frutti would show up in the center well enough, so I just decided to do the 2 colors as 2 separate flowers. I think there's one more flower coming up in Party Dress. The center of that's going to be fuchsia, although flirty fuchsia, but it doesn't look like it when I stamp it down. And then after that, I use that small center and use it as a flower in flirty fuchsia around all those larger flowers. Excuse me, needed some of my Red Bull. Those of you who know me well from my unedited videos know I drink a lot of Red Bull. I could probably buy stock in the company and keep it surviving, alive and well. After the flirty fuchsia, I take that little dandelion fluff and the color aquatini, and I kind of put those stamped at a diagonal downwards towards the lower right side of the card. Kind of like they're flying away from the little grouping of flowers. After I put these on here, I decided it was missing something. So I went back and I took some of the leaves. I think it's after this one. Yes. I took the longer leaves and I used grass skirt, and the shorter, smaller grouping of leaves I used lime Ricky. And I think that really gave it what it needed, and it really completed that 2-inch panel. They're driving me crazy, guys. If any of you have any ideas about these mosquitoes, please comment below and let me know, because I also put it on my Instagram story, because this isn't a one-time problem. It's going to keep happening. So now I'm going to take an ivory card base, and I actually thought this was a white card base. I don't know, I wasn't paying attention. This crafting I did in the evening. The kids were still awake. It wasn't until I was editing the video that I noticed that the card base was ivory, not white. Still looks good, but I would have preferred it to be white. So I measured out where the sentiment I chose is going to go, and now I'm going to put foam tape on the back of that 2-inch panel. I'm not going to tape it on yet. I'm just going to set it there so I can stamp out that sentiment, and then we'll adhere it on there. And I'm pretty sure I chose hello my friend. There's some cute sentiments in here. Hello my friend, miss you, thank you. And then like I said, the other stamp set had the word nice, very large, and different ways you could stamp it, and it came along with different words you could use to make nice into a sentiment. Oh, I used thank you, not hello my friend. Oh, I used that sentiment on the last card. Duh, to myself. There I turned the card sideways so I could line that panel up evenly, and then I just took the backing off of my foam tape and adhered it to the card. And then I decided this one also was missing something, so I took my paper trimmer, the Fiskars paper trimmer, and I cut a 1/4 inch off just the front part of the card base. I didn't cut it off of the back. I just cut it off the front part. Why can't I say that? Card back, card front. There we go. And I don't know what it is. I think I have to get a different paper trimmer. No matter how I trim with this, it always seems that one end ends up a little bit crooked and pushing in towards the inside. I don't know if it's the way I'm cutting, if I'm pushing too hard, but I noticed it after I glued all the jewels on here. I took some Studio Katia Ocean Wave crystals, and I didn't do too much measuring. I measured it out so I could do one middle-sized one and one tiny one, then a 1/4 inch in between, and I just did that all the way up the card. It doesn't end up coming out even, but it still looks good. And I just adhered them with some Nouveau Deluxe adhesive, which you'll see at the very end. I think I glued the first one on here, and I was like, you know what? Let's place them all out first and make sure I like it. Although, I hope I like it, because I already cut a 1/4 inch off the front of the card panel. What was I going to do with it then? Yeah, see, that's when I knew I was going to like it, even if it didn't end up with an equal amount. And there's just one there at the top. But I thought that looked really cute. And I've never done that before. I like it when I come up with new ideas. So I just used some of the Nouveau, like I said. It dries clear, so I like using it because it also dries fast. And I love this little jewel picker. I had the, what's it called? The Marvy one with the double-ended sticky stuff. And that thing, after it stopped being sticky, just stopped working for me. So that one I picked it up off Amazon for like 10 bucks and I love it. So this third and final card here, I took the word nice, I stamped it out in stone blue, and then I did the little decorative lines, which is the second stamp if you choose not to have a solid word. And they're like vertical lines, and I stamped that out in juniper mist. And then because I don't have a gray or a black in the Catherine Pooler inks yet, I took my VersaFine Claire Morning Mist ink, which is like a dark gray, and I used that for the outline of my word. So in the stamp set came the word, the little diagonal lines that can fill in your solid spaces, and then the outline. And I think that's really cool. You can come up with different looks for your word. It also came with a separate tittle, which is the dot for the eye, and maybe in case you only wanted the eye to have stripes in it. So I cut this panel down. I'm not sure what it was cut down to. I just kind of eyeballed it to be close to the word on the top and bottom without getting too close to those swirlies. I just wanted it to look balanced, and it's going to go in the center of this panel right here. So I drew 2 lines. Now this I can tell you, I wanted the lines that I was drawing to be underneath the panel with nice on it. And I drew those lines because that's the basis for what I'm going to be stamping. So I know how much to go over the line. So what would be seen versus what wouldn't be seen. So I took some sage here and I stamped out, is that sage or seafoam? I think that one is seafoam. And I stamped out the smaller grouping of leaves. And I did those diagonal. I also do the longer branch, and that's also diagonal. Now I could have mirror stamped these and done them any which way I wanted, but I just was trying to stay simple tonight. And I also decide that they need kind of shadows or something behind them, so I end up second generation stamping. Yeah, it's seafoam for the smaller grouping and sage for the larger grouping, and as you can see I stamped off on that scrap there and stamped one. I did it for each group of leaves. So I had to break the seafoam back out because I had already put it away. And then I break out Stone Blue by Catherine Pooler, and that's what I'm going to do my flowers in. Now a lot of those are just stamped the first time. I did put a couple second generation stamps in there of the blue flower, but I just stuck to blue flowers. There's no other colors in there. I wanted it to stay with the spa colors. I started to go with that dark green and decided against it. That's that little pointy flower with the stem. And it's got these little curlies underneath it. It's super cute. And that's when I decided that the sides should have the second generation stamping of the flowers. And I was going to use these dots as the center. Decided just to use it as decoration. So I pulled out the spruce, which is next in line after sage, and used the 3-dot stamp to just stamp around those images. And as you can see, most of the time when I'm stamping freehand like that and I'm not using the MISTI, I like to use repositionable tape. It just comes on a roll like gift wrap tape by Scotch just to hold down my paper on the glass mat. So I'm using a black mat for the card front, and then I used my little pieces of foam from the Dollar Tree, a roll of foam tape, instead of going to my long 36-yard roll, because these are a little bit thicker in height when I put it on the card, and I didn't want to double up my roll of foam tape. So I stick that on there and I trim off what was overhanging on the edges, which wasn't much. And I don't even think I show trimming it off. And that was it. Thank you for watching, guys. Stay tuned for more great videos, and don't forget to hit that notification bell for monthly giveaways. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.